Heavenly Father, I come to you on bended knee with a humble heart, asking forgiveness for the sins that I commit, knowingly and unknowingly. Thanking you for your grace and your mercy, your guidance, your strength and your wisdom. Thanking you for your presence. Thank you for the blessings. Thank you for your Son, your word, and your spirit. Heavenly Father, I pray for health and wellness for myself, my immediate family, as well as extended family and friends. And Father, I ask you for financial abundance, not to exalt, but to provide and protect as always, and influence the world around me. I desire to make you proud. I'm lost without you. I submit to your will. I surrender to your service. Guide me to the path that leads to your purpose for my life. I love you. And I'm grateful for your love. And it's in your Son's name that I pray for peace for all. A good man.
To the Shadow in the Empty Chair, where we discuss psychological factors that influence our ability to maximize our ability. I'm your host, Andre Goodman. A few weeks ago, man, I was honored to be on a podcast called As We Sip Our Coffee. And today I'm able to show my appreciation to the host. He's allowed me to flip the tables a little bit. We didn't know each other overly well over the years, but I can't, just from my perspective, I can't recall a time where our exchange was ever hollow. So obviously I respect how he represents himself. And I look forward to getting to know him more as we move forward, man. Man of God, father of three, Carolina football great, also the head football coach at Great Falls High School, and the owner of
BU4U, right here.
I love it, bro. I love it. I absolutely love it. Welcome, Mr. Syvelle Newton.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, man. It's great to be back on the show. Just the other, maybe a couple weeks ago, I looked and you was on the opposite side, and I was doing the hosting part. But I'm glad that's what brotherhood is all about.
Yeah, man. It's been a pleasure to get to know you over the past few months, especially, man. Because I understood what your vision was, but now I'm starting to understand the man more. So I appreciate you making time to be here,
Yes,
man.
sir.
But off the bat, Mr. Carolina Gamecock, man, you played for Coach Holtz and as well as Coach Spurrier. And I played for Coach Holtz for 4 years, and I was on staff with Coach Spurrier for 4. So different dynamics. Can you kind of share your experience as a Carolina Gamecock, and if there was a preference between the two coaching styles?
Yeah, it was a major difference between the coaching staff. It's crazy because when I was driving over here, I was sitting there thinking about, I seen Marcus Lattimore do a poem that he released called Steve Spurrier this morning. He released it, and I listened to it, and I was like, I wonder, do people ever realize like how greatly of an impact that Coach Holtz was to our cultureship, how great he was into Carolina football, because everybody give Coach Steve Spurrier the credit, but I'm sitting there saying like, do y'all not know what Coach Holtz did when going from a 1-win team to a no-win team, to putting you guys in position to go back to back bowl games, and then at that time y'all wasn't playing the same amount of games that they were playing. Mm-hmm. So if you look at this, the two seasons that y'all went there, it was like an 8-win team and a 9-win team, and you compare that to the 11-win teams, I'm like, that would have been a heck of a game. And Coach Spurrier, he was totally different than Coach Holtz. Coach Holtz was like, I'm going to build you up, build you up, build you up, build you up, build you up. And that's where I want your success to come from. Coach Spurrier's on was totally different. It's like, I'm going to break you down, break you down, break you down, break you down. And maybe when you do something good, then I'm going to build you up. So, two total different coaches. I played for both, played quarterback for both. But like I said, the difference in from me playing, we can go on for days. I could talk about like the shift and what that did to me mentally, and how it hurt me mentally, and how it had play on my personal life for a while after football.
Yes, and I know you switched positions a lot while you were playing, man. I wasn't sure if that was by desire, the coach's decision, and how did that affect, because we're talking about competitive greatness, man. How does that affect your ability to maintain that sense of competitive greatness when you have no real stability in a position? And again, was that a preference or coaching?
You the first person really to probably ask me, because, so many people were too caught up in the, oh, he could play quarterback, receiver, running back. Oh my God, he's playing defensive back now.
man.
You know, to end my career, I came into Carolina. A lot of people don't know. Like, I came in number 5 quarterback in the nation out of high school. You know, I still don't know a higher rated quarterback. You know, out of the state of South Carolina to go into a school higher than ranked than myself. You know, and when I got to Carolina, you know, it was like speed.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, we had Dondrell Pinkins there, which I was aware, you know, either going to Clemson or Carolina my freshman year, I would probably sit because they had Charlie Whitehurst. And, you know, I wanted to play. I'm like, I got to play, you know, so that's the only reason why I played receiver instead of redshirt in my freshman year.
Gotcha.
And that wasn't really necessarily you know, a personal decision either.
Gotcha.
But when Coach Spurrier came, you know, and I talk about like how some of those things kind of impacted me, and now that I think about it, when his first time meeting me was, you know, he told me then and there, like, you're not playing quarterback. Off the rip. That was my first day meeting him. We had a team meeting. They introduced him. He wanted to meet a couple of the players that, you know, from the prior team. And I was just so happened to end the season, you know, with the brawl at Clemson and things like that. I was a starting quarterback. And he told me, like, straight up, like, you're not going to be a quarterback in my offense. You're going to play wide receiver. So I never got a chance to go into spring ball under Coach Spurrier's coaching to compete for it. He just he gave Blake the keys and said, "Here you go. Here go a free job." And that was hard. You know, as a player, you know, I'm thinking like okay, I mean Blake's good, but I feel like I'm better because I shown I was better.
At least give me an opportunity.
Blake was good. Blake was a great quarterback. I always give him credit because a lot of people don't even recognize him. But Coach Spurrier handed him the job.
Yeah, I got you.
He handed him the job, and I never understood it. Like when you say like that position change, the Wildcat formation. A lot of people don't know about it. You know, I don't like to talk about it so much because Coach Spurrier never talks about it. But that game when we were getting ready to play the Kentucky Wildcats, he asked me, he said in practice, he said, hey, because Blake was messing up so bad. And he said, Syvelle, get in here and throw some passes. I was like, what? Throw some passes? So I got in, I threw some passes. I remember I was hitting everybody. And then he was like, the next day, we came out on Tuesday, they put something in called the Wildcat package. It was called Wildcat formation.
Right.
I would start at receiver, move to quarterback, move from quarterback to running back, and move out, which that was where the Wildcat formation came from. And I don't know where people think it came from, but it came from Blake being the starting quarterback, me being a starting receiver, and motioning here and there. But that ended up, you know, we played against Vanderbilt when I tore my Achilles, and then I came back that senior season, and he ended up playing me at quarterback. But people, you know, I got a phone call one Sunday morning. It was early in the morning. I was laying in bed. I got a call. I'm like, why the coach is calling me? Right. And it was Coach Ron Cooper, Coach Tyrone Nix, who was the defensive coordinator. They said, hey, you need to get to the defensive meeting. I'm like, oh, what y'all need?
When is this now?
Yeah, huh?
When is this?
This was my senior season. We had just played Arkansas. I was a starting quarterback. You know, the whole game we were playing, I'm like, hey, we got to do three-step drop. Right. And the whole time we're doing play action, and they blitzing everybody. And, you know, then he put Blake in. He came in at halftime, put Blake in. And then that next week, they were like, Sunday morning phone call, hey, you need to get to the defensive meeting room. Because they had defensive studies on Sunday.
It's a mid-season shift.
Yeah, mid-season. And I was like, I get there, they meet me at the bottom of the steps, and they're like, apologizing or sorry, I'm sorry, son. Sorry, this is happening to you. And I'm like, what's happening? Right. And then they told me, like, hey, Coach Spurrier, they don't want you on offense anymore. So you got to play defense now. So they put me on defense, and, you know, that week I caused all kind of havoc in practice. I ended up starting at safety that week against Florida, the team that ended up winning the national championship that year. And I had 11 tackles my first game on defense. Never played defense really, but I never had. So I finished my career, on defense, and never got explained, never got an explanation. But that was hard on me because I didn't understand.
Right.
And I feel like that really killed, my opportunity as far as the next level plus injuries, because a lot of teams never really got to evaluate me in one position.
Yeah. I had a client recently, man, and he shared a similar story. I guess he had went transferred from one school to another, and he said he had a falling out with the coach because he said a vulgar word on the sideline. It wasn't directed at the coach, but the coach heard him, so they dismissed him from the team, and he didn't get an explanation, and he's been struggling to get back on track ever since. I can imagine that for all of us that happens a lot when we get a little bit of that shock, and shock without the explanation of why this process looks a certain way. So I'd imagine psychologically you have to kind of go through your own process to kind of get an understanding and make peace with whatever that decision was. Were you able to ever make peace with how your situation ended at Carolina as you stand here today?
Yeah, growing up, my father, he was one of those fathers that were, I would say, was there, but he was there physically. But when it came to like the learning life lessons, the mental part of things. Yes, we went to church and did all these things, and he kept us there. But when you get to leadership in your life, and we look for as men, we look for that protection pattern in our lives. So when we don't have it, it mentally it kind of tears you down as a man coming up, to where you start to you start to grasp onto a lot of things, life lessons on your own. And I feel like that part was totally, it was like identical, because I'm looking as a head coach, when you look at a head coach in college, you like, just I looked at Coach Dean Boyd when I was in high school. I looked at him like, you got God farther than the head coach.
He's big on that.
And it's so when you think about it mentally, and you think like, this is somebody that I'm looking up to, and when they tear you down so much, it's kind of hard. So whatever they're going through, I mean, I'm pretty sure we could have a great conversation about it to understand like how to overcome those odds, how to overcome those obstacles that are so huge in our lives. But you got to be David, you got to pick up that stone, that little rock, and throw it at Goliath, and learn how to overcome that.
I just think it's, in this, again, personal perspective, it's amazing how some of those things shape you early on, but they also help you become who you are today. And I'd imagine that has a lot to do with why your vision for your brand is what it is. I think when we recently reconnected, I was looking for a place for my son to train. This is his first full year of real competition. So I wanted to make sure he got proper instruction. But when we met at the gym, man, you shared your vision for what you wanted that thing to look like. And I was in awe, bro. I was like, oh yeah, this is a good dude, man. This is a good dude. If you don't mind, share that vision with us now.
Well, the business is called BU4U LoveYourself. And where it came from my fights. It came from my depression and the things that I battled that a lot of people don't know. A lot, like I told you when we was having that conversation, a lot of people don't know that I was at, I used to be, I talk about it so boldly because I used to be in a dark space to where I would go into a dark space and contemplate, not being here. And that was a time in my life that I didn't know why people was like, hey, can I have your autograph?
Right.
I didn't know why people still was like, hey, 13, you want to know greatest was my favorite Gamecock or whatever it was. That was just a dark era.
You couldn't see yourself through that lens. Yeah.
I couldn't see it. Yeah. So one thing I do appreciate about, Coach Sperry and that staff, they allowed me during that time to come back and get my degree.
Nice.
So I went back to Carolina, I got my degree. And, while getting my degree, I met this professor down at Carolina. His name was Dr. Nicholas Cooperluder. And when I went through his counseling, we got so deep, and he became almost like a father to me. I'm like, where you been?
That's a God sent,
yeah,
bro.
I'm like, where you been, guy?
Oh, man,
and everybody knew him because we even honored him at Carolina, called him the Soul Whisperer.
Wow.
That's they did that. Coach Tanner and all them honored him in the athletic department, calling him the Soul Whisperer. And he did that, just that. He whispered to me. And while I was sitting on his couch, on his phone, it used to be like, don't worry, be happy when it rings.
Right.
And I was like, man, and he was like, he turned and looked at me after his phone rang, and he said, Syvelle, he was like, are you happy? What does happy looks like? What does that look like to you?
That's a huge question.
And I was like, and I stood there and I sat there like we having this conversation. I just looked across from him and I'm like, I don't know. Then he said, he was like, in order for you to be happy, you have to be you for you and love yourself.
I love
and
that,
you
bro.
have to make a decision
that's
and
dope.
commit to being a great person and being beautiful every day.
Oh, that's dope.
So my whole mission statement like really was built from that. I never forget him looking at me and telling me that. So be you for you was, I was like, wait a minute, I'm about to run that in the hole. So because I know that if his one voice did what it did for me, imagine what my one voice could do for someone else. And when I thought about gym, I'm like, well, where do most people need to be? In the gym. So when people come in, I'm like, no, this isn't a physical battle we about to go through. We about to handle this mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then physical. The physical stuff is just the like the trophy.
Yes.
But the mental emotional strength, that part is good. So when I say I want to have a whole campus of nothing but self-love, people wearing these BU4U shirts, and on the back when they stand in that cash register, somebody can see love yourself on the back. I got these wristbands right here. It says BU4U love yourself. So when I can see somebody going through, I don't hold on to it. I take it off. I give it to them, and I tell them what it means. And I tell them it's not for them. It's for them to give it to someone else.
Man.
And once we get this, once this campus come one day, it's going to come. It's going to be a place where people can not only just come to a gym, they can come sit down with people like yourself, like the counselor, the therapist, and get all of that total life building experience right there at the business.
Man, I just remember, I mean, we could have went on that day because I was like, bro, it was sitting with me what you were selling. And I was like, bro, because I know you wasn't selling on me. You was just showing your vision. But in my mind, I was like, now, a few months after I retired, I established a CYD foundation that was built around overall wellness as well. And I was so resistant to be the face of it that it never really gained any momentum. But in my mind, I was like, bro, you're who I was looking for back then to be the face of this thing. Because I absolutely saw a reflection as we were having that conversation, man. You've been very transparent with your struggles, which, I always appreciate, especially when it comes to mental health, man. But I also know you've worked really, really hard to rewrite your story. Like you focus on triumph over trials and purpose over preference. And I absolutely love that, man. I'm a huge fan of narrative therapy. Can you share how you've been able to reframe your whole perspective? Yeah,
this year for me is 2025, and I remember when my twins mother, my girl, she came and she said, what is this year to you? Like, I was like, it's a year of triumph. I feel like I done went through a whole lot, all the battles part, and I made it through that. And then I overcame those odds and obstacles to get to a place now that I'm like building in others' lives to give them, their own platform. The platform don't always mean like you got to go out and you got to have 100 people following you and these type things. Your platform is just what you're building for your life, so somebody can see the great work that you put into yourself. And the thing about purpose over preference, football was a preference. Wanting to do music was a preference. Wanting to be out front and lead was just a preference. But the purpose of myself was way greater than going out in front of 100,000 fans or 80,000 fans or in front of the world and throwing a football. It's like which one of you people that I could come in contact, or which one that my voice, when you listen to my voice, is going to say, hey, here's a pen, grab your notepad, sit down, and let's start from chapter 1. Let's start from chapter 1 and start to rewrite the narrative. Narrative changes came from Dr. Markeisha Miller. When Dr. Nicholas Kupaluta passed away, I transitioned to her because everyone, I don't care if you're a therapist, counselor, whoever you are, you need counseling too. And I think everybody should invest into the conversation on the couch because It's fun to me. Now it's fun. It used to be hard, but now it's fun. So she said, like, hey, let's change the narrative. Like, I hear all these things you talk about your father. I hear all these things you talk about football and the downs of things. Like, let's start to go back and rewrite that. So that's where I'm like, man, I have a bigger purpose over all my prefaces. And there's definitely trials that I've had, but if you say you are a man of God and you are believing that you could be uplifted from anything, you could be uprooted also from pain. And that pain that I experience is also now just all the pleasures that I have in life, the smile and to inspire everybody else is just the greatness of it, man. So the triumph is here, and I'm here, and that's what I'm doing these days.
It's I found that somewhat therapeutic too. And I had said my greatest challenge was going to be learning how to enjoy the simplicity of life, because when you're in that bubble and you're on that stage at a professional level, everything feels so grand and everything feels so fast and everything feels like my actions have a meaning. It's not just me going through the motions. But when that structure goes away, what is it that gives you that same feeling? And I said, if I don't learn how to appreciate just the fact that I can watch my kid run by and he's healthy, or the fact that my wife is still sitting beside me and we're just enjoying a movie, or the fact that my family's just together, learning how to enjoy that simplicity. And that simplicity is what helped me get to the place where it went from what is it that you desire for your life versus, man, what is God trying to tell you, dude? Like, and if you can answer that question first, the rest of it takes care of itself. So I like that you've been able to reframe that, man. And just back to your point in terms of just everybody needs to have that conversation on the couch. We all have psychological struggles. I mean, I always try to reframe the conversation, because you say mental health and wellness and people automatically think about disorders and conditions. We all have psychological struggles. So this is the whole reason why the platform is about psychological concepts that affect how we our ability to be at our best, man. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. So just to that point, though, we were talking about setbacks a little bit earlier with your football career, but I also know a little bit about your setbacks in your personal life that you were just sharing. Do you have any of those core, like, guiding principles, those values, that beliefs that kind of get you back on track when you do have, when you are fighting against adversity?
Yeah, I look at it like, you gotta find something. You gotta find something in life that is stable. Stability is a big thing that we have to have. You cannot. It's just like a person who's drunk. They normally don't walk straight. That's why they get sobriety tests, just to see if you can walk a straight line. And you think about life, and you think about being stable, and how you want to walk the straight and narrow like path, and you got to have something. So our spirit, man, we have two different phases of it, and we have our spirit man, and we have we call our flesh, the flesh man, right, who we walk in our daily lives. So you can be a millionaire. You could be a millionaire in the flesh. You could be, but you can also be a millionaire, with your spirit. So if you lose everything today, your bank account get wiped out in the flesh, and if your spirit man is still on $1 million, guess what? You can find a way to build that back up, because you got foundation there, because you're rich. You're rich on the inside, and that's what getting that mental strength is all about. That's what finding that emotional strength is all about. That's what finding that spiritual. It has to be in that order. It cannot be, because you can go. You seen guys throw money away, blow money away. Yeah. Rookies coming to the league trying to keep up with the older guys, and then after they second year they get cut, they don't got nothing, right. And then then they lose everything. Or like I said, you can have everything, and everything is being full, having fullness within, and that's just how I try to live now, man. We got things that's gonna come up, things are gonna continuously happen. I come from a small, very small town, not too many people, called Wallace, South Carolina. And my mother, she worked. Like, she worked. And one day she came and she said, ain't you thankful for, for all the things I did? That was like the first time I looked at my mom and said, no. Well, I looked at her and I said, I don't know what it was, but I think because I was so strong, I was like, no, because I'm like, you know, Ma, you did all of that, but you know, I don't feel like you was doing it necessarily for us.
Right.
I felt like you was doing it for something else, and I didn't get that, you know, that nurturing that I needed to, you know, to know exactly what love was, because, you know, if Dad wasn't providing it and your way of providing it was providing, it wasn't fulfilling what we needed to sustain as young actually African American men in this world. So man, you know, that's a whole tearjerker there.
Yeah.
But when I told her that, she looked at me and I seen it in her eyes. She was like, she had to think about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we came back, we had the conversation again, and I'm just like, man, like, I'm so strong and so powerful now within my mind and my emotions and in the spiritual way that I carry myself, that I could even stand up and tell my mom, like, you know, this, and even if that did hurt her a little bit, it felt so good to say it. You know, it felt so good when my dad was passing away, and I looked at him and I was like, hey man, you know, like, I forgive you. I had to let him know one more time, like, I forgive you. And forgiveness is such a great thing. It's such a great thing that once you forgive and you go on, it's like, man, you take those bags that Erykah Badu be talking about.
Yeah.
It ain't just the bag ladies, it's bag men too.
Yeah, man.
We carry around too. So you just take them things and you throw them shoulder pads off, and then now you can just, like I said, you walk stable. You walk straight and narrow, you good. Just like that.
That's beautiful, man. The thing I learned about forgiveness, and it's been somewhat of a lifesaver, bro. Like, it took me learning to forgive myself first, and then forgiving everybody else became so much easier, because it's like once you go through that journey of your own journey, when you're dealing with those parts of you that you don't even care for, and you're judging yourself for it, and then eventually you get to the place where you're like, you know what, man, you're giving it everything you have, but you're human, so stop being so hard on yourself. Give yourself a little bit of grace. So when I was able to do that, I was able to do that for every single person that made me feel a certain kind of way. I'm happy to know that you had that conversation with your mother. I'm happy to know that you had it when you were in a place of healthy healing versus it being more of a destructive conversation. You can have a constructive conversation because of the place you're in. And you talked about having that balance, man. And I'm big on the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and the physical as well. That's the whole idea of the overall wellness. And one of the concepts I use is called ambivalent alignment, because a lot of the times when you're trying to get stable and balance and you're just trying to walk a straight line in terms of your purpose for your life, it requires you to be able to align all those things. But if one of them is off, then you're walking in a space where you feel a little bit. I'm always trying to discern the difference between the day versus if I'm balanced and I'm walking in my purpose, I don't have to discern anything, man. I attract the life I'm meant to have. I'm not have to force anything, and that's what being in that meditative mind state has helped me with. So I'm glad that I just hear the healing in your voice, man. So I'm proud of you from that standpoint, bro. I want to talk about your high school career. Your high school coaching career, man. What has been the challenges behind that thus far?
Well, you know, just resources. I feel like a lot of times when things happen to people who are, like you say, doing things in a way that you're supposed to go places and you're supposed to build things, I feel like that's why, you know, all the bigger schools and things like that, they kind of never gave me a shot to be like a head coach. And I ended up at Great Falls High School. And my first time going to Great Falls, I'm talking about, Dre, I drove around the town because I couldn't find the high school at first. And if you know me, just like now, I mean, if I pull my phone out, I guarantee you it's dead. My phone stays dead. So I could not figure out. I was trying to look at the GPS. My phone was dead. So I'm traveling through the town, and all I see is, you know, a town that needs like revival. And once I got there for the interview, I was like, man, I got to get this job. I don't know what I got to sit here and say or what I got to do to get this job. Even not being a certified teacher at the time, I'm like, I got to have this job. So when I get there, we have no equipment. It's no equipment. And I'm like, what in the world's going on here? There's no equipment. We're down to like maybe 11 helmets after recondition. I'm in charge of the high school team and middle school. All this equipment is shared between the teams. So I'm like, what are we going to do here? Greatly, we have a great AD in Jennings, Coach Jennings. He's a great AD, and we got together. I mean, I'm talking about the money that we were able to raise to make sure, working with BSN and also working with Johnson and Lamb with one of your former teammates, Coach Holmes.
Okay.
I work with Adam Holmes, and we got the kids new uniforms,
Nice.
helmets, shoulder pads, new footballs, all kind of things, and just to see how those kids, appreciated what they have now, is just amazing to see, and I'm happy to be their head coach.
Yeah, man. And I'm when you were sharing that before, obviously over our last few months when we were having a conversation, man, I could just hear the passion in your voice, man. Like you're super passionate and about serving the community, man. So I'm glad that you're starting to finally find that space where you're comfortable. I start trying to catch up on the John Wick series because they got a new one coming out Friday. I'm a big John Wick fan, but I was on chapter 3, and this is as early as this morning. I was listening to one of the questions that was presented to him, and the guy asked him, "How is it? Who do you wish to die as?" And it's a very existential question. Yeah. And in my mind, I quickly said, "Man, you know what? I hope I get to die as a good man, serving God's purpose for my life." Mm-hmm. And that's what I feel like I'm starting to get closer and closer to that. So even to my followers, I extremely appreciate the social engagement. We have a unofficial verbal agreement that if they engage, then I give them my best effort, which is why I continue to try to show up. But the beautiful part about the approach that I'm taking, man, like it really does just require an audience of one. And I think that's what you were talking about earlier. Like you're just trying to touch that one each and every day. Mm-hmm. And I can imagine like whether it's the gym, whether it's a coach, or you just being a service to the community, that's a big part of your makeup as well. So kudos to that and salute to you for that. You get to follow up with whatever the final say is for whatever it is you want to share before we go off, before we sign off.
I would just pretty much tell everybody, just like I said, live in this mission. I mean, it doesn't matter who's the name behind it. It doesn't matter if my name's behind it. It doesn't matter if Andre Goodman's name is behind it. Just be you for you. Love yourself. Decide and commit to be great and beautiful each and every day. Be the one for one. Be that one voice to inspire one person to know their greatness and know that they're beautiful no matter what they're going through and anything like that. When you see someone down, pick them up. If you have one word to give, offer that one word. If a person is in a dark space, be the light for them. That's how we're supposed to live anyway, being the salt and life into this life for others. And I appreciate you, bro, for having me on this side, not just talking about football, but talking about the real stuff. This is the real stuff.
This is easy for me, man, because like I can forget that the cameras are here. This is a conversation of substance. So most of my guests, this is how we do converse. Yeah. So I'm hoping to replicate these conversations. And I know I said give you the last word, but I almost signed on today as I'm your host. My name is unimportant. Consider me the shadow in the chair. Like none of this even matters, but hopefully after we have this conversation, you'll refer to me as a good man. That's the goal. Yeah. So with that being said and done, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you for being here, bro. I continue to grow our relationship, man.
Yes, sir.